Hi guys. I wanted to make a video to talk about the energy right now because I fell behind with all the other stuff going on in my life. So, as you may or may not know, the sun moved into Gemini, and Gemini is an air sign and it's ruled by the planet Mercury. Mercury is an inner planet, it's a fast moving planet, and it's archetypically represented by Hermes, or Mercury, the Roman god Mercury, who had the gold sandals and would quickly fly off and carry messages from the gods and goddesses. So they're also associated with trickster energy. But I wanted to talk about the Gemini energy further because I don't know if you know about, and I tell everybody this because I think it's so crazy. And also, we need to be storytellers and pass our stories and our legends down. It was said that in lots of mythology, in Greek mythology, that Zeus frequently transformed and he would become, a swan or a bear or a snake. He would become or a ox. He would become different animals in order to impregnate that species, or I'm not exactly sure why he did it, but he did. And for the Gemini story, here goes. There was and I should have done research. This is off the top, guys. So look it up. He fell in love with the beauty of Queen Leda. And there is a poem, which I've written about, by William Butler Yeats, about this, Leda and the Swan. And Zeus makes himself into a swan and comes down and sees her beauty and rapes her and impregnates her. Well, she's already married to the king, and she goes and later that night gets pregnant by him. Well, she has two sets of twins. One set of twins is actually born into an egg shell, and one set of twins is given birth normally or regularly. And there's actually two boys and two girls, and it's actually just Polar and Castor that are in the stars, not Helen of Troy and Cleopatra, who became a queen later on as well. If you know anything about Greek mythology, maybe you can speak to this a little better. I love the stories, and the point here, what is the point? To me, it is about the spectrum of truth. It's about a spectrum of reality, and Gemini really represents that, finding the details and actually pulling out our beliefs, unfolding them, and actually finding the gray area. There is more to find out, and there is more truth. It's never just this or that. And right now, the moon and the sun are in Gemini, this unfolding of truth and this paradigm shift, this perspective evolving type of energy. And it also can be the trickster energy where, do we really know the truth? And the nodes moved into Gemini as well. So there sits the Gemini-Sagittarius axis. Sagittarius is the opposite sign to Gemini. And so whenever I'm talking about axes, I'm talking about polar signs. They're opposites. So the moon now is in the new phase. And actually, when we talk about phases of the moon herself does not go through phases. She is a luminary, but she does not have any of her own light. She reflects the light of the sun. And so it's basically about our perspective and what we can see according to our own perspective point of view. That perspective point of view would be very different on, say, Mercury or on any of the other planets, as it is different for us as we move around the sun. And so there's lots of technical information about what's going on with the moon. But the bottom line is, every time the sun moves into a sign, the first big phase will be the new moon, and it will also be in that same sign that the sun moved into, and that's why we can't see the moon in the night sky. So right now, the Gemini new moon, I believe, is about unfolding personal beliefs, especially when we look at the Gemini Sagittarius axis, which is Sagittarius is, Gemini rules the third house of communication, and Sagittarius rules the 11th house of philosophy, religion, travel, higher education. So it's about like institutionalized beliefs versus personal philosophy, personal truths. And actually, since the nodes, the points at which the earth and the sun move through the orbit of the moon, those nodes, I can do a post on it if you want me to clarify what it is. I have pictures and everything. That might be more helpful to understand what the nodes are. But the nodes have moved, and they move backwards, and they, instead of forwards through the constellations, they move backwards. Again, because of the orbit, have moved from Cancer, Capricorn to Gemini, Sagittarius. And the north node is in Gemini, and the south node is in Sagittarius. And the north and the south node have been represented by a dragon, two parts of the dragon called Rahu and Ketu. And the dragon's head is, hungry, and the tail is what we bring with us, our dharma, it's our past lives, it's what we've mastered, it's what we instinctually know. And our north node is our, what we're reaching towards and what we should be perfecting. And so to move collectively as a collective consciousness, because all of Earth is experiencing this, regardless of what your personal natal nodes are. So it affects you differently because your charts are all different. But as a collective energy, we're all moving from these institutionalized beliefs into more authentic personal truths. So, it's interesting that we're moving, what forced us to move to staying home, what forced us to homeschool. It's fascinating, and it doesn't rule the home, but it does rule communication and personal truths. And so another thing we can be looking for is revelations and secrets being revealed from the government or institutions. So pulling away from that Sagittarius into Gemini, I think we're going to see a lot of communication. I want to also talk about the planets in retrograde. We have Venus retrograde, and she is in Gemini as well. And so when Venus, who rules typically Libra and Taurus, moves into Gemini, the air sign, these are revelations about love, and they are the love language of communicating and new ideas. And also now in retrograde, it's truths being revealed about desires and about beauty and about money. We're going to see, I really believe we're going to see a lot of truths. She moved retrograde on May 13th. And will be revealing relationship truths, money truths, and beauty truths. So I also think that people who kept secrets from you, lovers, relationships and money, that's going to be revealed too. So stay grounded and stay loving, like I always say, because that's the way that we respond best, not when we're, in our fear center. Grow roots, breathe, and remember who you are. You are love. You're love. We all can be. That's where we return to source, and that's where we are smartest and bravest, when we're loving and act. Now I feel like some of you are like, well, actually, that's when I act craziest. But not when you're grounded in love. I'm not talking about jealousy or impulsiveness or any of that. Okay, but I want to get through the retrogrades before I get off on another tangent. Okay, so Mercury will go retrograde in Cancer June 18th, okay, until July 12th. So we have a couple weeks before Mercury goes retrograde. I've already had issues with electronics, so maybe that's moving into Gemini and the nodes moving, or it's the 5G stuff, or, who knows? I don't know what you believe about why we're at home, but it is interesting that during this time, astrologically, there were other astrological positions like Pluto and Capricorn, Pluto and Saturn, that led up to getting us home and focused on ourselves. It's interesting. Mars will move retrograde not until September. Jupiter already went retrograde May 14th in Capricorn. So that's another interesting placement. Jupiter doesn't really care for being in Capricorn, okay, because Jupiter is more of the Sagittarius, spontaneous energy. I know I said about the institutionalized, but actually the fire of Sagittarius actually is very expansive too. And you always see like Artemis and the arrow, shooting forward the arrow. That's Sagittarius energy as well, and it is fiery and it is impulsive. So to move into Capricorn in this fixed energy, it's actually not fixed, I mean earth energy, where it slows down and it is so particular is what I want to say. Jupiter is going to try to find a way to expand. After this review, retrograde in Capricorn, Jupiter is going to expand all of what it's reviewed while it's been retrograde. So Capricorn is an earth sign. They are hardworking and loyal and maybe distant emotionally. Although very loving. And so Jupiter visiting, what we're working on. It also rules the 10th house of career. So our career. And then once we move forward, we're expanding those areas that Jupiter is currently working on. And so you might want to look at, what you have in your 10th house, what Capricorn placements you have, and then finally what your Jupiter placement is to see what to expect personally. Really, for all of these, look at your houses and where it falls and where this energy in these zodiac signs are affecting you, and look at your houses as well, because that really does change the energy. It's like, it's not just vanilla anymore. It's got sprinkles and fudge. Look at all the ingredients. So Saturn moved retrograde on May 11th. I said there was a lot. And Saturn is in Aquarius. So as we've said before, Aquarius is about humanity and also about the individual. It is ruled by Uranus. And is the outside the box, creative, innovative thinker. Is also an air sign. Is ushering in the Aquarian age. So moving from moving more towards humanity and revamping humanity. It's a whole era. And so we're revamping society and humanity. And again, it's interesting looking at the astrology, what has forced us or what led up to and energetically is affecting us now, like the pandemic. It is fascinating. To see this play out, how it is expressed, because Spirit doesn't say, and this is specifically is going to happen. Sometimes Spirit does, and this specifically is going to happen. But Spirit will say, this energy and this environment, this impact, this environment is going to be changed, and you're going to have to adapt and overcome in X, Y, and Z way, like, humanity and the self and communication of personal truths. Those are our focuses right now. So, and Uranus will move or is retrograde in Taurus until August 15th, okay? So, Uranus and Taurus, how we view the earth, what's going on earth, earth healing, gardening, food. It is financial stability. It's the second house. So, Libra energy as well, but, food a lot, beauty as well, Libra. Relationships a little. It's another earth sign. Taurus is a fixed sign, so it's slow. This is affecting the earth. We're going to see a lot of earth changes over this 7-year. We have about 6 years left of Uranus and Taurus. And the earth, I believe, will see, earthquakes and volcano eruptions mostly. Something to do with electricity. Maybe we'll update how we do that. I just got that message about electricity. So the earth herself healing and changing. And this is the energy of the earth goddess. And so, maybe that's another reason why the pandemic came, to heal the earth. We don't know the real message. And I just hope that in order to achieve this goal, people do not have to suffer. That's what I light candles for every single day, to transmute suffering. That's a whole nother conversation I would love to talk with you about. Finally, Pluto went retrograde April 25th in Capricorn until October 4th. So these planets go retrograde quite frequently, every other year, every year. Their transit times are all different. But if you've noticed, we are talking about this more. We're hearing about it, even in mainstream. People who aren't astrologers are talking more and more. And that revelation, and even astrology is ushered in through this age of Aquarius, and it being, maybe another truth, being Gemini. So as another spiritual paradigm shift to the Sagittarius energy. It's fascinating. I don't know. You tell me. I'm just your medium here. And Neptune in Pisces will move retrograde January 23rd to November 29th. Okay, so it's retrograde. 14 years in each sign, so it'll be in Pisces for quite some time. Well, it moved in there about 6 months ago. Okay, I think that's everything I wanted to talk with you about, and I will release the tarot readings for the new moon. The new moon in Gemini, it's going to be interesting. I'll release the tarot videos next. I hope everybody's doing well. Please stay safe. Let me know if that resonated too.